Each morning brings news of another piece falling into place. The neighborhood snitch facing unexpected legal troubles. The stalker dealing with mysterious family chaos. The corrupt officer suddenly under internal investigation. You never lifted a finger, never whispered a curse. Yet here you stand, watching as divine mathematics balances its own equations, turning every trap meant for you into a key that unlocks their downfall. They thought they had you. The rituals, the whispers, the unseen hands working in the shadows. Every move was calculated, every intention laced with malice. The plan, simple, bind you, weaken you, break you, but they never understood the law that governs all things. Energy always returns to its rightful source. They conjured chains, yet now they are the ones bound. They dug a pit, yet now they are the ones falling. You never needed to retaliate. You never needed to fight their war. The moment they set their sights on you, the unraveling began. Because there is a force greater than their schemes, a power older than their rituals, a justice woven into the very fabric of existence. Look at Haman. He built the gallows, confident in his victory. The noose was tied, the execution planned. The trap was set, but when the time came, it wasn't his enemy who swung from the rope. It was him. That is the pattern. That is the fate of those who believe they can wield darkness without consequence. They didn't just set a trap, they built a reflection. And when they cast their curses upon you, the mirror shattered, sending every shard, every wicked intention straight back to where it came from. Now, the same forces they unleashed torment them. The same shadows they sent haunt them. The same destruction they planned has consumed them. This is the sacred reversal. This is divine order. This is the weight of the energy they unleashed, returning in full measure. And this is just the beginning. You felt the shift. The weight pressing against your spirit, the tension in the air when their plans moved against you. They thought they could control you, that their hands, stained with desperation, could reach into the unseen and twist fate in their favor. They reached too far. Darkness doesn't obey. It takes, and the moment they sent it after you, it latched onto the nearest open vessel. Them. Possession isn't instant. It doesn't strike like lightning. It spreads like poison. At first, it's a thought, a suggestion that feels like their own, a whisper in their mind, soft enough to ignore. Then it lingers, a restless hunger, an itch that can't be scratched, a pull toward things they don't understand. Then it feeds, slowly, patiently, just enough to keep them functional, just enough to make them believe they're still in control. Their hands move in ways they don't recognize. Their voice speaks, words they don't remember choosing. Their reflection carries an unfamiliar stare. They thought they could bend power to their will. They thought they were sending destruction your way. Now, destruction walks with them, moves through their thoughts, shapes their desires, leads them into ruin. They don't even realize it yet. They still think they can fight it, that they can undo what they started, but you already know. They reached for a fire they couldn't hold. And now, the flames refuse to let go. They saw your power and believed it could be taken. They studied you, your resilience, your presence, the way you move through this world untouched by forces that shake others to their core. They thought, if they could harness what was meant for you, they could wield it as their own. But this was never theirs to hold. Power given by divine hands cannot be stolen. It cannot be imitated, cannot be worn like a mask, cannot be forced into the hands of those who were never meant to carry it. And now, the very thing they tried to claim is the thing destroying them. This is the law they ignored. Stolen fire always burns the thief. Prometheus reached into the heavens and took what was forbidden. He didn't create the fire, he stole it. And for that theft, he was bound, torn apart, punished by the very force he thought he could control. They did the same. They took without understanding the cost. They tried to manipulate something beyond them. They reached into sacred energy, mistaking it for something they could twist into their own strength. Now, it devours them. Their thoughts are in chaos. Their bodies carry the weight of what they were never meant to bear. Their lives unravel piece by piece under the weight of a fire they cannot put out. They believed they would control you, but now they are the ones controlled. Not by you, not by any earthly force, but by the very thing they called upon, the very power they tried to claim. This is the price of stolen fire, and there is no way to return it. You were never the weak one. You never invited the war, yet it found you. The resistance, the sabotage, the betrayals disguised as friendships, the silent forces pressing against your every move, hoping to slow you down, hoping to make you question who you are. This was never a coincidence. Darkness never fights what it already owns. It only rises against what it cannot control, and it could never control you. They saw something in you that terrified them, a force beyond their understanding, a presence that unsettled them, even when you said nothing, did nothing, because you don't have to announce your power. It speaks for itself. They tried to break you, not because you were weak, but because you were rising, because your light was reaching places they never thought possible, because your very existence challenged the order they relied on. But they misunderstood the nature of divine strength. You weren't being destroyed, you were being refined. Like gold in fire, like a blade against the whetstone, every battle sharpened you. Every attack forced you into deeper wisdom. Every setback only proved that you were exactly who you were meant to be. And now, the same forces that came for you are retreating because you never fell. You never lost yourself. You never became what they wanted you to be. You stood. And that is why they fear you. Drop a comment. What scent returns stronger? If you've witnessed the energy they unleashed come back to devour them. They didn't know who they were up against. They thought they could move against you without consequence, that they could throw dirt on your name, plot behind closed doors, send energy your way, and walk away untouched. They had no idea what they had just signed up for. Not every enemy knows the cost of war. Some of them were just puppets, pulled into something far beyond their understanding. They weren't strategists, they weren't masterminds, they were pawns, and they never saw the strings. You weren't their real target. They were handed a cursed object, convinced it was a prize. They picked it up willingly, carried it proudly, thinking they had something of value. Now, it won't let them go. At first, they moved freely. The attacks against you seemed easy. They whispered, they schemed, they laughed. But darkness never gives without taking. And now it has taken them. They feel it, the shift, the weight, the slow unraveling. Their hands don't feel like their own. Their thoughts are no longer fully theirs. The very thing they tried to send after you has settled into their lives instead. Some of them already know. You see it in their eyes. The fear, the desperation. They want to undo what they started. They want to take it all back, but they can't. This battle was never between you and them. This was between them and the forces they invited in, and now they are the ones begging for mercy. They watched you struggle and assumed you were weak. They saw the storms you endured, the betrayals, the losses, the endless battles that seemed to stack against you. They mistook your wounds for proof that you were defenseless. They never understood. You were never alone. Every attack against you was answered. Every force that rose up was met with something greater. Every time they tried to break you, something unseen fortified you. That's the paradox. The most targeted are the most protected. They saw the surface, what looked like hardship, isolation, vulnerability. But they never saw what stood behind you, around you, within you. There were moments you should have fallen, moments where the weight should have crushed you. They were waiting for that moment, expecting it, certain that this time you wouldn't rise. Yet here you are. Still standing, still moving, still untouchable. Because divine order doesn't work the way they think it does. The ones who walk with the most light attract the most opposition, but they also carry the most protection. Every attack against you matched, every setback reversed, every attempt to weaken you only sharpened what was already indestructible. They were never fighting just you, and that's why they failed. Hello, Chosen One. Look at your life. Now look at ours. Back at your life. Now back at ours. Sadly, you're not in the Obsidian, inner order, but you could be. Picture this, weekly group calls with 450 plus chosen ones, recorded and available anytime for your enlightenment. Our private Discord, it's not just active, it's alive, buzzing with ideas, breakthroughs, and that unstoppable chosen energy. Oh, and for you romantics out there, welcome to Chosen Singles, where soulmates meet under cosmic alignments, not cheap pickup lines. And if that's not enough, Star Chamber members unlock exclusive interviews with bona fide targeted individuals who faced the darkest trials and survived to tell the tale. Plus, our video specials, too bold, too raw, too spicy for YouTube. This isn't just a community, it's a revolution of soul and spirit. Look at your DMs, now back at me. The link to join, it's in the description. Don't just swipe right on destiny, claim it. The Obsidian inner order, smell like ascension, feel like magic, live like a chosen one. Every hit made you sharper. Every betrayal, every setback, every unseen force that moved against you, it was all supposed to break you, to wear you down, strip you of your light, leave you questioning yourself. Instead, it refined you. They didn't realize who they were dealing with. The energy meant to destroy you didn't vanish. It transformed. Every ounce of resistance, every moment of struggle, every attempt to shake you loose from your path only strengthened the foundation beneath your feet. Because that's how power works. A sword is only as strong as the fire it survives, and you've been through the fire. You've walked through storms designed to drown you, stood against forces that should have crushed you. Every battle deepened your wisdom, every trial sharpened your discernment, every wound carried knowledge that can't be stolen. This is the gift they never meant to give you. They thought they were draining you, but they were fueling you. They thought they were stripping you down, but they were forging something unbreakable. Now, you move differently. You see clearer. You stand taller. The ones who set out to weaken you, they only made you stronger. The alchemy is complete. And now nothing can touch you. They wanted what was yours. Your gifts, your wisdom, your spiritual inheritance. They watched you move through life, saw the way doors opened for you, the way your presence carried weight, the way unseen forces aligned in your favor, and they thought they could take it. They didn't understand that power without divine wisdom is self-destruction. A child sees fire and only notices the glow, the warmth, the way it flickers, the way it dances in the dark. They reach for it, thinking they can hold it. But fire doesn't care for ignorance. It doesn't wait for understanding. It burns. They reached for something they weren't prepared to carry. They wanted your strength, but they never endured the trials that forged it. They wanted your knowledge, but they never walked the path that earned it. They wanted your power, but they never learned the discipline required to wield it, and now it's consuming them. The very thing they chased is the thing unraveling them. The energy they tried to steal is too heavy in their hands. The gifts they thought they could claim are backfiring because they were never meant for them. What they underestimated wasn't just the power itself. They underestimated the cost. You didn't just receive what you have, you became it. Through fire, through storms, through battles they will never understand. And that's why it could never belong to them. They thought they could drain you. They watched your energy, your strength, the way you moved through this world untouched. By the chaos they tried to throw your way, they saw the favor that followed you, the wisdom that guided you, the force that made you unshakable. And they wanted it. Not by growth, not by discipline, not by the trials that refined you. They wanted it by theft. Spiritual theft doesn't work the way they thought it would. Power is not an object to be passed from hand to hand. It is an embodiment, a frequency, a force that only settles where it belongs. They tried to siphon your energy, to take from you what was never meant for them. But instead of walking away stronger, they drained themselves in the process. You didn't lose anything. They lost themselves. The weight of your gifts, the essence of your calling, it wasn't something they could simply hold. It was something forged in you through fire, through suffering, through revelations they have never known. And when they reached for it, they took on a burden they were never meant to carry. At first, they felt powerful, the illusion of control, a stolen sense of authority. But power that isn't earned will always betray its thief. What isn't built from within will collapse from the outside. What isn't honored will slip through desperate hands. And now they are left with nothing. No identity of their own, no energy to sustain themselves, no purpose beyond the one they tried to steal. This was the sacred exchange they set out to take from you, but the only thing they succeeded in was losing themselves. You never had to prove yourself. The power you carry has never needed validation. It's woven into your very being, written into your presence, felt in every room you enter. Those who see it recognize it immediately, even if they refuse to admit it. And that's what unsettles them the most. They shouted, they schemed, they twisted narratives, created distractions, built illusions meant to undermine you. They wanted to force you into defense, to pull you down to their level, to make you question your own presence. You never moved, because real authority isn't argued, it isn't explained, it isn't something that needs to be declared or performed, it is recognized. A lion does not need to convince the forest of its dominion. A storm does not need to justify its power. The sun does not need to announce its rise. It simply does. And neither do you. Kings and queens do not debate with peasants. They do not fight for acknowledgement, they reign. While your enemies exhausted themselves trying to dismantle what they could never hold, you remained steady, silent, unshaken. They mistook your stillness for weakness, your refusal to engage as proof that their words held weight, but in the end it wasn't your silence that exposed them. It was their own noise. They revealed themselves through their desperation, through their need to be seen, to be validated, to be feared. They screamed of power, yet none of it was real. Because true power doesn't chase, it doesn't beg to be noticed, it doesn't require recognition to exist. And that's why, no matter what they did, they could never touch you. Your crown was never placed by human hands. It was never given by the world, and it cannot be taken by it. It is unseen, yet undeniable, and it will remain long after the noise fades into nothing. You were never called to control. Your power was never about bending others to your will, forcing submission, or proving superiority. That is the way of the weak, those who mistake fear for leadership, manipulation for wisdom, and force for authority. Your calling is different. It is not about crushing others, it is about guiding them, and that is why your path has been heavier. The greatest leaders in history did not rise without struggle. They did not sit on thrones built by convenience. They were tested through fire, purified by trials, sharpened by opposition. Before they ruled, they were broken. Before they spoke, they were silenced. Before they led, they were humbled. Because true power does not come from domination. It comes from divine alignment. You walk a path that requires more than strength. It demands wisdom, patience, and a vision greater than yourself. The weight you carry is not for personal gain, but for those who will come after you. Every hardship, every battle, every moment of isolation was shaping you, not into a ruler but into a leader. That's the difference. A ruler seeks control. A leader seeks purpose. Those who came against you thought they were attacking just another person, just another opponent in their game. They had no idea they were challenging a mantle, a calling, a divine order. They mistook your silence for weakness, your trials for defeat, your suffering for loss. But those were never signs of failure. They were signs of preparation. And now you stand not as someone who took power, but as someone who became it. Everything is aligning. What was sent to break you has turned back on those who unleashed it. What was meant to bind you in chains has wrapped itself around the hands that forged them. Divine order cannot be manipulated. It doesn't answer to schemes, to envy, to whispered curses in the dark. It cannot be bribed, bent, or rewritten. It moves on its own time, in its own way, ensuring that every force, light or dark, returns to its rightful place. And now the scales have tipped. They had their moment, their time of influence, of deception, of believing they were in control. They spent their energy working against you, not realizing that every move, every attack, every twisted intention was only tightening their own noose. They built their own cages, they dug their own graves. You never had to strike back, you never had to retaliate. Your presence alone was enough. And now they sit in the reality they created, trapped in the very web they wove for you. While they sink deeper into the chaos of their own making, you rise. Because your path was never tied to them. Your future was never dictated by their actions. You were never meant to remain at war with those who never even had the power to stand beside you. They tried to strip you of your light, but light is not something that can be stolen. They tried to disrupt your purpose, but purpose is not something that can be removed. They tried to pull you down, but they only made your ascension undeniable. You didn't just survive, you transcended. And now they are left to face the balance of their own actions. Justice has arrived, and it cannot be stopped. You were the target. They sent forces to break you, to infiltrate your mind, to crush your spirit under the weight of something unseen. But what they failed to understand, what they never accounted for, was the force that stands behind you. What they called upon was never meant for you. The energy they unleashed had a destination, but it was never your body, your mind, or your soul that would bear the weight of it. It was theirs. They opened the door. They made the offering. They bound themselves to a force they did not understand, mistaking their own hands for weapons and their own thoughts for shields. And now what they sent to possess you has settled into their lives instead. Their own minds are no longer their own. Their movements feel unfamiliar. Their thoughts betray them. They are haunted not by you, but by what they called forth in your name. And you are untouched, unbothered, elevated, because what was never yours to carry was never yours to suffer. Justice is not something that requires intervention. It is not something that begs for recognition. It simply moves, correcting the imbalance, restoring order, and order has spoken. The same forces they once commanded now pull them deeper into chaos. The same darkness they sent has taken up residence in their homes, their bodies, their waking thoughts. They wanted control. Now they have none. This is the balance. This is the price, and this is why you were never meant to fall. Tell your story, speak your truth. Let the ones who try to silence you see what they have done to themselves.